Welcome to the Media Buying Podcast. I'm here with Rob, the co-host. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Now that I know what podcast I'm on, I definitely am doing a little bit better. I thought I was in the wrong room or something. But no, it's good. I just got back from Affiliate Summit, just got back from Mailcon, presented at Mailcon, and then stood outside Affiliate Summit because that's just how I do Affiliate Summits now.
So you did LobbyCon.
Yeah, dude. So here's a big change. I don't know if you saw or heard of, rather, because I know you didn't go this time.
No.
They actually, and I don't know if it's the event or not, but I'm pretty sure it was. But they actually put security down by, remember Smoker's Alley, right there on the outside. That escalator right there, they had security checking badges.
Wow.
Yeah. So instead of me going in and actually seeing everyone else there, I just pulled people out of the conference to come have meetings, and it's just much easier that way. But yeah, they really stepped that up this time, which, I mean, props to them. It's not going to affect anything, but there's a lot of, it was interesting to see the priorities change and how a lot of stuff is changing, especially with the changes in the industry and AI and all the good stuff. And it was a very eye-opening experience for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, I can go into that later, but yeah, I would go into a lot right now if I play.
So have you managed to catch up? It's funny. So just before you answer that question, I was chuckling all the time. I kept seeing photos of you. And first off, I know you lost a lot of weight, but it was like even more apparent. I don't know if it was because you'd gone back to your red shirt. I was just used to seeing the red Under Armour shirts busting at the seams, and now they're literally hanging off you. So you need to go and get some new kind of gear that fits more appropriately. So,
yeah, if only that wasn't the already smaller shirt. That's the problem.
Oh, really?
So that actually was the downsize. Yeah. But yeah, 85 pounds is a lot of weight.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had a bit of a gastric problem the early part of this week, right? So Monday through like today, I've had no food. So consequently, I've lost 5 pounds just in this 4-day period, right? So I'm now down 80 pounds from my peak. So between us, we've lost probably most affiliates, right? 165 is like,
I was about to say a full person.
Full person, yeah. But this isn't about weight loss or what have you. Again, I just think for me, it was all about the health, taking the strain off my knees and hips and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
But I was obviously really interested. There were so many meme-worthy photos of you, right? Where you and Scott were presenting at Mailcon.
Mailcon.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that in a second as to how that went. But yeah, but I was like, it seemed like every single time I saw a post, you were in it in one way, shape, or form. I don't know if you've just got like good PR or you've got some sort of voodoo stuff or whatever. I don't know, but
I'm good at photo bombing, and especially when you have these people with extremely expensive cameras, and you're just like, you're seeing them lining up. So you lean back a little bit and you point at the camera, and they're like, "That's not natural," and you're like, "It's cool, but just send it to me after." So there may or may not be between 6 and 15 photos of me randomly pointing from up to 80 feet away from the camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to wait for those to come out.
So you presented at Mailcon. So how did that go?
It was good. So I did my session on basically leveraging AI, not replacing people with it, but basically, let's say augmenting your workflows with AI. And most people in the presentations I normally see are like, use ChatGPT to write copy and all that. Those are basic examples. I didn't want to do that. So what I did instead is I gave away an example of like how to use classification based on what has performed in the previous campaigns you've had with that consumer. Sales cycle principles, right? Fear of missing out. Is it low quantity? Like whatever it is going to be. And it looks at what they've had. Obviously, you have to feed your data into it, but it looks at what you had for like on the subject line, what prompted the open, on the body, what prompted the click. And then it takes your new creative you're about to send. Always check with your attorney because this might change compliance. But it takes your new one that you want to send and uses those psych principles to adapt it around those. So it'll be like, I think the example I used was like Gold's Gym. And Gold's Gym is like, lose weight this before the summer. And it was like, this guy reacts a lot better to fear of missing out. So it's almost too late to lose the weight for summer. And I was like, oh, that's a pretty good subject line. I think we can look at that. And then it did the same thing to the body. And the body started using a lot more salesy lines, but not ones that sounded salesy. But I was like, that's a good example. So that'll be my example. So I'm giving away those scripts, the prompts, all that kind of stuff to the people that were there, as well as the slides so that they can take it home and look at it. But basically did a broad stroke view of this is what LLMs really are in terms of like how they work and what it is. And then the next one was that example. Then the next one was how to do that example using code instead of manually. So if you did want to automate a little bit, you could. And then the next example was how I orchestrate that and 60 other different pieces of a pipeline completely automated. So everything from optimizing and figuring out demographics of what performs for users to the point where maybe that user, when they go to the lander, sees a version of the landing page specific to their psych principles that'll force them or have them convert higher. Or it talks about complaints that they've had in the past. The kind of stuff like that it was always possible, but it was not logical with the cost to do prior to a lot of this. Now it is. And it can be done a lot more easy.
Because it always used to be like,
so that was
when I was mailing, it was like, you would do a mail blast, right? So literally you would send everyone the same email at the same time, and it landed or it didn't land. We used to do, we would obviously check to make sure it got into the inbox first by sending a small sample, make sure it got around the whole compliancy things on the ESP side of things. But, but once we got into the inbox, we can press send, bang. But I think now, if you look at it today, again, so much of that would be, this person always opens the emails first thing in the morning, or this person opens them last thing at night. So it would make a lot more sense to try and get it so that it lands on the top of the kind of the inbox round about the same sort of time that they're actually opening the inbox. Because if it's buried on page 2, right, of the emails they have in their inbox, they may not get to see it until a little bit later on. Then they may just go swipe left and it's gone. Whereas if you can plan accordingly, and I know that some of the kind of the junky ESPs have this, we'll choose the right time to send. I bet you don't. I bet you don't really know for that individual person.
Yeah. It's one of those things where ESPs do whatever they can to help you on, let's say, higher end engagement, because the higher end engagement is what allows them to send more mail off their resources without having an issue. Like that's why you have, if you're under this open rate, we need to look at what's happening with your list. Maybe it's not properly targeted. If you're under this click through or over this complaint, whatever it is. But the interesting part is you can relate this to so much more now. Like with the speed being a limiting factor before, right? I could do it if I had enough compute. I could do it on email and write a custom piece of copy around like a demographic, right? Like you are 25 to 35-year-old male from this state or whatever. So let's infer some stuff from that. But with the speed and cost now, you can have them hit a landing page and inline literally write completely different copy around the pain points that they're experiencing in their state right now. So it's, auto insurance. Like we have auto insurance right now and we want to help you get auto insurance. By the way, you're from Florida. Did you know Florida doesn't have the same laws on auto insurance as the others because of X, Y, and Z? Is that going to help with a sale? I don't know. Maybe the person is the kind that needs to research, in which maybe they don't need to research now because you just gave all of it.
Yeah.
So we've had some where we've tested, like with LLMs, right? You give them a lot of information and you see whether or not does it contribute to more accuracy or less? Is it confusing them or helping them? Same thing with users. If you're giving them too many choices, what are they being distracted from? It's not what are they going to? It's where, you're distracted from the thing that makes me money. That's a problem. So it's about figuring out really how they work together and how they play into the overall life cycle. But like low-hanging fruit, right, is you just figure out what the user will respond to, and then you just have the email match that and the lander match that. So if the person's passive and a researcher or something, like the average hits before they submit a form is like 4 or 5 times, or they like click the email 4 or 5 times but never convert. Maybe you need more aggressiveness. Maybe you need more proof and more cited sources or whatever it is. But if it's the opposite, maybe you don't need at all. Like maybe if it's a viral product, they're just like, it's the new thing. Oh my God, right now. Delivery, 2 days. Nuts. Some people will convert on that. TikTok probably would. People always look at the aspect of what they can apply it to, but they always scope it into what they know. And they don't think about that. And this is an equalizer. This allows someone that's really good at it.
We used to do that a lot with Google Ads. Again, like they've had these things called ad customizers for a long time, right? You can basically insert a token and you can do a countdown, right? So if people think that they're likely to miss out, right, It creates that element of scarcity, right? So we would have this sort of thing. We would have a countdown timer that for a particular campaign, we'd have a countdown timer that we would reset every month, that it would start on the 20th of the month, because most months would have at least 30 days in them. So it would start 10 days from the end of the month and count down. And it would say something like, say dog owners in Phoenix get 20% off, offer ends in 10 days, 9 days, 8 days, 7 days. So I didn't have to go and change the ads. The ad customizer would go, this is when it's due to start, this is when it's due to finish. And we could, like I said, we could do it either Arizona, or if we wanted to, we could actually go even more granular, more specific, the specific city that they live in, or whatever.
And that's the thing, is like, we've never, and I know this is going to be cliche as hell, but we've never been at a point where someone or anyone has the level of an equalizer right now that people have with AI. You can literally understand how to do media buying, and by using guidance, let's call it, I'm not going to say they're going to do it for you, but if you're using guidance, you can actually have it explained to you how to understand email marketing from the perspective of what you already know from ads or from social. And that's been one of my fun little tricks when I'm trying to learn something, is I'm like, look at my conversation history, tell me what you believe I have a good grasp on, and relate this to that. And then all of a sudden, I completely get it. And I understand everything there. But more importantly, that's just so I can understand what it thinks it understands. If I just wanted to do the copy, it can just do the copy. If I wanted to do it with creatives, it can do a creative. But if I don't know what to tell it to do, it's going to do exactly what I tell it to do.
Yeah.
So you can't put in high converting ad copy, home security. It'll literally just be like a house, and it's going to be like a big shield on it. And then the shield's going to look like glowing, and you're going to be like, this is it. But with proper information and proper setup, you can do it even on ads.
Yeah, because that was always the thing. I mean, it used to be if I was going to go into a vertical that I clearly wasn't the target demographic, right? So if it was makeup, beauty stuff, cosmetics for 22-year-old females, then I'm not the right person to necessarily be writing ad copy. What I would always look at is, you've gone out of focus, Rob, but don't worry, I've got you off. There we go. I got it. Cool. Yeah, so I would always enlist the help of somebody who was that target demographic to write the ad copy and give me advice on what to do. I don't even need to do that anymore. I can just go, you are a 22-year-old beauty influencer, blah, blah, blah. And that way I can get all the information that I used to get, right, by having to hire somebody by using an LLM. In that respect, it's been so much easier to do that. And that's the thing that kind of grinds my gears a little bit when you see some of these kind of groups that people are in and they're saying, this is what's working for me, this is what's working for me. It's like, that's not really how you should be tackling this. You shouldn't, because if somebody says,
no,
same ad copy, same this, same that, then you've got 10 of the same things, people saying the same things, doing the same things, targeting the same things, same campaign, same ad group, same ads, whatever it is, it's all the same, right? So in the sea of sameness, you're just never going to win. You need to be zigging when everyone else is zagging. So what can you do that's different than everyone else? Do that.
Yep. And here's an example actually specific to Facebook, but specifically I have a friend, he's learning social. I'm guiding him a little bit. He's doing some other stuff and learning from someone else. But the one thing I told him is, I was like, you gotta think about it obviously from your perspective, which is obviously your core product. You're trying to get leads, you're trying to get sales, whatever it is. But you also have to think about it from their perspective. And their perspective, I don't mean the consumer, the ad network that you're buying through. Because when you, for example, say you want to bid on the same demographic and there's overlay, the question is depending on the place you're at, right? Are you bidding against yourself? Are you bidding against other people? Does it only say before it leaves your account, this is the only one that we're going to accept from him right now? Or is it literally just all of your bids are thrown into the queue and it decides what it is? And if you know which one that is, you can actually start to make sense out of optimization at a whole new level.
Yeah.
Because then you can actually figure out what the differences are, but they don't allow that. So like with mine, for example, is I had him screenshot the demographic targeting. And I had him just the screenshot itself, like literally just these people with this intent and this, and he had some interests, affinities and stuff like that. And I just had him put it into ChatGPT 5. And I was like, just paste this and paste your other one and say, identify the demographics and give me an estimate on the percentage of overlap or whatever it was. And then the follow-up was like, how would you change these to eliminate the most overlap without impacting my ability to target the right consumer? And it was like, add this, add this, add this. And of course, half the shit was not real. Half the stuff it told it to do was not a feature.
Yeah.
But the other half was very, very logical. And it was looking at the fact of once he passed in like the MCP so he could pull in his stats from his actual clicks. He was like, did you ever notice that this niche only gets West Coast people and this one only gets East Coast? And I'm like, so this whole time you've been driving up potentially your own cost and throwing off your attribution, and your pixel is now seasoned across two completely different demographics based on where they live. And you didn't think that that might cross-pollinate in a bad way.
Yeah.
But that's, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of stuff in the level of insight. Imagine if I wasn't guiding him and he just went, does this make sense? Is this possible that this does it? And a lot of times it has the tooling to actually look up the FAQ or look up something where someone wrote about it, a test.
Yeah.
And it'll have some kind of information.
It's like
it's a good equalizer.
I worked for a company that was based in North Carolina. So it's in Eastern time zone. And they had, I think they had 55 salespeople working there, like real physical salespeople that got paid between 35 grand and 250 grand base, and then commissions on top. They got exactly the same money for renewals as they did for new business. And I walked in there and I'm like, this is just crazy. So I said, so what's the kind of the process for distributing leads? Whoever answers the phone gets the lead. And I'm like, really? So they said, yeah. And like at 5 o'clock, right? Actually 4:55 on the dot, there was a guy in the office who sat in the middle. It's a big 26,000 square foot office. He sat in the middle. You know the song, The House of Pain, Jump Around, right? It starts with the duh, 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 right? He would play that song at 4:55, and by the time the song finished, everyone in the office had left at 5 o'clock, right? So I'm sitting there thinking, I foolishly said, so can I ask a question? If I'm in LA and I'm working for a big company and I want somebody to do SEO and I've seen one of your ads and I pick up the phone and phone the office, who answers the phone? Nobody does, right? And I'm like, but why? Don't you have like key account managers that look after big accounts, people that look after a particular vertical, so maybe people that look after retail or lead generate, like whatever it might be, right? People that look after geographies, East Coast, West Coast, right? So if the West Coast people would probably start later, finish later. The East Coast people would do normal work hours.
Yep.
But there'll be times when everyone's in the office. If you had to have a meeting, that might be when you do that. But you always make sure you've got enough people to cover the phones and whatever. I see loads of people complaining that they're getting a lot of no pickups on their paper call. It's like, I'm sending in the calls. They say they're open between 9 and 6, but I get calls and they're not answering. I'm like, have you looked to see specifically what time the no answers are? Is it between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock? Even though they say they're there, how many people are there? Is it one person? If it's one person and they're on the phone talking to somebody and it takes 20 minutes to do a call, there's no chance of them picking up anymore. So as much as they're saying they have availability, your data tells you they don't. So you should be looking at that data. And even if you need to carve off 90 minutes at the front, 90 minutes at the end, this is your business, not their business. You're not there to indulge their business. You're there to look after your bottom line. You're spending money on calls that are not backing out, not validating. So just be smart about it. And there's so much data to have to be able to make those decisions. You can kind of look at it and go, this is what this problem is. That's what I should be doing to rectify that.
The vast majority of people that are on, and I'm going to generalize and say the traffic acquisition side, the guys that are really, really good, like really good, if you talk to them, they usually have 3 or 4 different levers they can pull on targeting with whatever topic you pick, right? Like you'll be like, I want to do debt. They'll be like, okay, so subprime debt. Then there's also decent credit, but also still, let's call it liquid, has a problem debt. Then that goes into people that don't have jobs, people that are unemployed, credit repair, right? There's that. And then there's the majority of people who don't even think about the most logical like flags, like for example, time frame. They don't look at like the amount of affiliate managers at networks that could catch fraud so easily by just looking at the clicks versus conversions on an hourly basis grouped by publisher is insane.
Yeah.
Like
a little pivot table, quick report, and it just jumps out at you, right? You can even like color code
It's right
it.
there.
If it's above this, kind of color code it, and we'll put a kind of like flag in that and keep an eye on it, right? Because ultimately,
and
that's the quality that could jeopardize your entire quota with the advertiser. They could go, you know what? We don't want any traffic from you, but all these guys are good. I'll just switch off the bad ones. It's no, because my buyers hate the quality of the traffic when you've diluted it by sending some rubbish in with some good stuff.
See, and that's the secret, right? Is that's what a lot of people outside of the industry don't understand about what's in the industry, is that even when you pause someone, there is a decent chance. I'm not going to say good, I'm not going to say amazing or guaranteed, but there's a decent chance you're going to see that dude's traffic anyway in about 48 hours from a different ID.
Yeah.
But guess what? Now you're overpaying for it because now you don't have the right ID to look at the quality. So you should have just kept it logical and transparent.
Yeah.
But the question is who's technically in the wrong there? Because I could argue both sides.
Yeah.
And that's where the disconnect is.
And that was always the thing. Like, so when I ran my affiliate network, I used to say my job is to protect the advertisers from the affiliates and the affiliates from the advertisers. And I was just there to act as the middleman and take a bit of margin to facilitate ensuring that what was sent to the advertisers was legit, good quality, and
exactly
at the appropriate level that I said we would deliver. So we get a quota, we would deliver the quota. And in most cases, if we were not going to hit the quota, we would either panic like shit and find ways to make it, right? Because if we didn't hit it one month, then we wouldn't get it the following month. Because if you say you can do 1,000 leads a day and you only deliver 50, right? You're 950 in the hole. So they're going to go, I'm not going to give you like 1,000 leads next month. I'm going to give you 50 because that's what you did this month, right?
Yep.
So you're in deep trouble as a result of that. So it's really important that you actually model out what you're able to do. And it's, again, I think sometimes you need to look at your traffic mix, right? Because, you know, if you're taking traffic just from, say, people say I'm doing SEO, right? And it's kind of like, yeah, but is it like really dodgy black hat SEO kind of that's driving that? And if it is, what sort of steps are you taking to mitigate for the potential implications of that, right? But again, it's like you could end up with a quota of 1,000 and you could get 1,000 in 20 minutes. And you're like, we've done 1,000 leads in 20 minutes, but we've got 1,000 for the month. And what are we going to do? We've given some to other people and they're not going to be able to get anything in because this person's just taking it all. And
God forbid their quality is bad, because then 100% of your test budget just went to shit. You don't have a test budget anymore. It's gone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, that kind of stuff is always bad. And there's a lot right now that, let me think about how I can phrase this. There's a lot of the aspect right now where networks are, let's say, filling or changing quality as a business model instead of doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's interesting to me because one of my personal pet peeves for the affiliate side is bucketed offers. For those of you that don't know what bucketed offers are, the whole concept is that you're running traffic based on whatever, right? So like auto insurance, auto warranty, debt, doesn't matter. But the buyers are all a different price point, right? Someone might buy at $8, someone buys at 15, someone buys at 30, but you want the payout of 30. Right? So you say 30. This is why I always tell people go off EPC, don't go off payout because it's irrelevant. But with the 30, what'll happen is that if you sell that lead to someone that pays them, let's call it 20, and then you sell a lead to someone that they pay, let's say 9, and then you sell one that does 2, now you've tipped the bucket. But now you're going to get told you got a conversion on the lead that was $1. Or $2, but they're going to tell you that lead was worth $30. So have fun with your segmentation, and your Facebook pixel is now completely useless.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I always tell people, if there is a rev share versus a flat rate, I will always take the rev share, because if it's only worth 20 cents to you, I want to know that unless I have another way of making money, I shouldn't be sending that at all.
No.
Like at all. But you don't know that if it's all bucketed or grouped or whatever it is.
Yeah, I work with an e-commerce merchant that are doing like crazy amounts of sales on a monthly basis. Crazy. Like it's like close to 7 figures a month that they're doing, which is just insane. But I keep looking at it, and they're running a lot of Google ads. They're running mainly Google shopping ads, predominantly Performance Max, which is, again, it's sort of like I think Performance Max exists to help struggling advertisers. They lowered the playing field to that level rather than raising it to the level that people like me were running it at.
Yep.
So they made it a kind of mediocre product for everyone rather than a good product for everyone. But what I found was they were running towards a sort of target ROAS, target return on ad spend, right? But they had products that were selling for $2, $3, right? And they had products that were selling for 2,000, 3,000. But they had them in the same campaign and asset group and everything else. And I'm thinking, this is just insane. So the ones that were coming in at $2, so the $2 product, they were spending maybe $40 to acquire a $2 sale. But the ones that were coming at $2,000, they might be spending, say, $500 to acquire that one. So they look at it and go, it blends out, it looks good. But you think, again, if you think of all that money that you spent on the lower products, if you put that in a separate bucket, right, and taken everything under $5 and either said, let's not even bother bidding on anything like that, or put it in a campaign and put a penny, like we'll bid a penny, right? Put it in a sort of a standard shopping campaign, all those products, bid a penny. And if we get a single sale, great. It's probably...
Then we get it.
Absolutely. I've got campaigns now with clients where they've got like 10,000, 20,000 SKUs. We've got campaigns, we've gone like maybe 1 cent, 2 cents, and we're picking up loads of sales because Google wants somebody to buy the traffic. And if we're the only people there to buy it because it's a niche product and what have you, and they type it in, we're the only ad they show, and we'll take the kind of conversions all day long, right? But,
of course.
But equally, most people just put it in and put in the asset group, they put the sort of product category or whatever. I put every single product ID in because then that way I've effectively got each one in a separate auction completely. Yep. So I can then start saying, because again, Google are notorious for having the money gravitate very quickly, right? So again, let's say you have a daily budget of $500, right? If they can spend $495 on one product that could be complete junk, right? They're going to spend that $495, and the other 1,000 products that you've got in that asset group are going to get nothing. So you need to be looking at how you can mitigate for that. Again, it could be you like either put that in a completely separate asset group by using custom labels to say that was lots of traffic but poor seller. I'm always amazed at how many people don't really understand the use of custom labels. It's the ability. When I used to look at people and they had a product that let's say they had a custom label that said best sellers. And then you look at the historical sales for the last month, and 8 out of the 10 products in the best sellers had sold nothing. And I'm thinking, I don't really think they're best sellers anymore. They may have been at one point, right? As in,
exactly.
They may have been the best sellers back in 2020, 21, something like that. But they're definitely not your best sellers now. So the whole thing of a custom label, rather than having to reset the kind of the asset groups and ad groups and everything else, you can just change the labels and that will move them from one group to another. You can move other products in, and then that way the kind of the force behind your best sellers campaign can get the value of it being the best sellers that you have at that particular point in time. But again, people just don't seem to be able to get their head around that whole concept.
And you got to think about it. That's the model that Google's going for, and the model that Facebook is going for, right? Yeah. They want the guy that owns an HVAC company to use Facebook ads without knowing what a Facebook ad is. So they just want you to be able to say, "What's your monthly budget? Here's my budget. Okay, cool. Let's make it work." But then no one ever thinks about we've been doing that in affiliate for years. A lot of industries have always done this, right? And the same thing that always happens is they go, "So how much are you making?" And you're like, "Why would I tell you that?" And they're like, because I need to know what I can charge you minus 10%.
Yeah.
And it's, okay, cool. So no matter what I'm making, you're just going to keep increasing. Yes, that's how it works. But everyone thinks what I mean by that is they're going to change like the CPC cost and increase it. What I really mean is they're going to loosen the filters, and they're literally going to do exactly what we're talking about right now, where they're like, listen, this one took a loss, but like in order to maintain your bid position for the demographic that we just got the slot from, we need to be able to take a loss on this one, but you'll make it up on the next one.
Yeah.
But it's still governed by the top, which is don't let you take losses because then you'll pause.
Yeah.
So as long as it's optimized, it's not optimized, but it's optimized. So it's just, there's a lot of that.
And
like a lot.
the thing I find funny is that there's always this sort of, so again, I've started to use Reddit more, right? Both for ads, but also for just Reddit itself, right? Because there's a lot of, again, I find there's some really fascinating subreddits on there, all sorts of different conspiracy theories about all sorts of different things, right? Which again, I think sometimes is just good fun. You pull up a drink, sit down and just scroll through, and they call it banana scrolling, right? So you scroll through your page and that counts as a banana scroll. I'm like, God, honestly, have they literally measured how long a banana is, and they kind of do that, and you get like stickers for how many bananas scrolls you've got, right? So it's like doom scrolling, but with bananas.
Oh God.
But the thing I found amazing, so some guys put in this one called r/PPC, right? And this guy's posted basically saying, I've had a daily budget of $10, and I increased the daily budget after 7 days, right, to $20, and basically Google charged me $34 for a click, right? He says, how can that happen, right? And I'm like, well, it can happen because in a Google Ads campaign, they have the kind of the leeway to be able to spend up to 200% of your daily budget, right? If they think that there's likelihood that they're going to get conversions. Say again, they've done a great job of like making their marketing speak sound great, but really it's just like we can, instead of spending $20, we can spend $40, and if we could spend $40 for a whole week with impunity. But in a 30-day period, or it's actually 30.2 days, I don't quite know where the 0.2 of a day comes in, but I'm hoping I can get that 0.2 of a day to myself at some point. But so in 30.2 days, if you don't change anything, they will not spend more than 30.2 times your daily budget. So if your daily budget was $20, then they won't spend more than $610 or whatever it is, right, for the month. But it does mean if they spend $40 for 6 days or 7 days, then they're going to have to find other days where they spend $2 or nothing. So people say, I'm getting no traffic. It's because they dramatically overspent. But usually what happens is people go in, they start freaking out and they start changing things. And as soon as you do that, all bets are off. You're back to the beginning. You're back to having to basically, you've reset the kind of 30.2 day window at whatever you've set it to that point. And the guy says, so how should I have mitigated for this? And I'm like, what you should have done, for starters, right, they need 15 conversions. It used to be 30, it's now 15. But even 15 is a bit of a stretch. But, and again, if you're a big business, you could probably get 30 conversions in an hour, 15 minutes or whatever, right? But if you're a small service-based business, 30 sales or 30 leads in a month could completely toast you, right? You might go, I don't have the capacity to deal with 30 leads in a month, right? So if that's the case, then some of these maximize conversions and maximize conversion value should never be things that are on the table for you, because it's just, again, it's suicide to kind of run campaigns on that basis, right? So I've always said, if you're going to do anything, right, then you probably should run like a manual CPC campaign, right? Choose a figure that you're comfortable doing, work out like how much the clicks cost. So again, if you say, I can spend let's say I can spend $50 to acquire a kind of a lead for my business, right? And I'll make $200 or whatever on a call out or whatever. So if that's the case, then what you need to do is to say, what's my conversion rate? If my conversion rate is 2%, right? I'll convert 2 out of every 100 calls I get. So what you need to then do is to say, okay, if I'm getting 2 conversions at $50, that's $100. If it's 100 clicks, that's basically, I can bid $1 a click, right? So even though you may be aspirationally going, Google will throw all these things saying your bids are too low, you need an automated bid solution. They throw all these red and yellow alerts up at you, right? I'm just like, fuck you guys. I don't care about your alerts. I know what I can afford. I know what I can pay, right? I am going to go with what I want, not what you want. And if you do that, then quite often what you'll find is that the success that you get with that is more in line with what you want it to be. I mean, most of the clients I work with, if I take over their account, I always say, pretty much before I've even taken my coat off or before I've sat down and had a cup of tea, I can guarantee you that we will turn your campaign on its head. And it's usually just stuff like that, like switching a maximize conversions campaign into a manual CPC, because it's all bidding on the brand, and they should be paying. Again, if somebody's looking for your brand, right, your brand search term, they're looking for you, they're not looking for anyone else, so your quality score will be high, right? You shouldn't be paying $15 a click for your brand, right? But some people are, because they've set a maximized conversion campaign up, and Google, great, let's get into this one, and they really go to town. It's just crazy, right? So I just go, we're going to switch it to manual CPC, and they go, but won't we lose all the conversions? I'm like, I guarantee you we will not lose the conversions, and we don't. And obviously the money drops dramatically on the branded stuff, which then means they can go into battle on some of the generic stuff that is expensive, right? They've got budget to go into to the generic auctions that they may potentially want to win on a generic basis, right? Because people don't know who the brand is.
Well, not only that, but also you got to remember the quality score aspect. If it's a related industry, it's going to at least carry a little bit. And when you already have the aspect of your success on one, it's going to do all rising tides. Like it's just going to help everything. But yeah, no, that's like every week I have someone that it's usually in like my SEO groups or something like that. It's just, oh, look, I got the monthly Google Ads call from the person that works there. And I'm like, great. And they're like, I scheduled the call. And I'm like, why? All they're going to tell you is literally they're going to pick up and go, you should do PMAX. And then you're going to do PMAX. You're going to lose money and go, it didn't work. And they're going to be like, oh, that sucks. Better luck next time.
Try demand gen or try Max AI or whatever. Again, if they come out with some stuff at Google Marketing Live earlier in the year, and again, every single thing, every single bullet was AI, AI, AI. So I want to bring it back to Affiliate Summit, right? Because I feel we've gone off on a bit of a tangent, which we're known to do. It's fine. But yeah, so we were talking before we came on air about like your experience with obviously AI and whatever else.
Yep.
So again, like you told me about your presentation at Mailcon, sounds great. I'm sure that the people that were in attendance will be head blowing.
Hopefully.
Which is fine. That's what you want. But talk to me a little bit about Affiliate Summit in terms of the vibe and everything else.
So definitely, I know everyone always says it's either one of two camps. It's either this is the best summit ever, but every summit is the best summit ever to them. So it's always the same. Or the other is, it was a little grim. The industry's a little bad right now, or whatever it is. This one was neither of those. This one was definitely the people doing well are doing very well, and the people doing bad are doing very bad. But normally that's like a 50-50 or like 70-30 split. This is like a 90-10. Like it's bad. The aspect of the majority of the people I talk to is, and granted, remember, with the channels I talk to, obviously I'm getting a very small subset of information.
Yeah.
But like an email, for example, like Yahoo and Gmail have had some deliverability issues the last couple of months, stuff like that. Like our guys haven't really had an issue, but we did a lot of work to make sure that they wouldn't. But there are other people that are just dead in the water, like completely and utterly dead in the water. That was very apparent. And there's always that, but not at this scale, not at this level of impact. Like it's normal to lose like 20% of deliverability or 30%. Some of these people were losing like all of it. And that's email.
Yeah.
The other thing you never see is email people. Oh, it's more than that, because the other thing
I stopped mailing because I used to get almost physically sick whenever I got a spam house complaint. I'm like, what? I'm going to be sick. I kept thinking like, again, I think the complaint rate was something like 1 in a million, right? If you had one complaint in a million emails, ding, your IP and probably the whole Class C was shut down. Again, we had a sort of good relationships. We spent most of our time at summits going around going, do you have any Class Cs? Do you have Class C? So we would register a whole bunch of domains, do 256 subdomains and all sorts of stuff like that, like all these wacky things to get to the point where we could just carry on mailing. And sometimes you would go, I'm going to buy these domains. So you would have to check to see whether other people had used them before, because if somebody else had used them and then put them back into the pool and you took them out and they had the history of getting it dinged in the past, as soon as you like press the first send, bang, you'd get dinged as well, which is where some of the people that exist in the ecosystem to help validate the kind of deal with the screamers and deal with email verifications and all that sort of stuff. If you don't look at it from a hygiene perspective, everyone looks at it just from making money, and you need to look at it from hygiene and compliance and everything else. It's really important.
Or they just look at bounces.
Yeah.
Like that was a huge thing that flipped me on my head for a while. Is I'm talking to people and they're like, yeah, we scrub it. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I'd literally just stop and I'd look at them and be like, lying to me is only going to hurt you. If I don't have the right information, I can't guide you properly. And they're like, no, really, no. We did. We scrubbed it. And then they list like never bounce. Like, and don't get me wrong, good company, but like verifier. They might do some slight scrubbing or something like that, but they're not email oversight. They are not very, very good, intricate, actual technicians living and breathing this industry daily into a data set of detection.
Yeah.
Like that is email oversight. And I probably should have charged them for that endorsement. But literally, like email oversight knows their stuff, but everyone thinks that's what they have with everyone. They're like, oh, if the email's not good, as in it's not good for me, I shouldn't mail it, I shouldn't do this, they'll tell me I shouldn't mail it. It's no, they're just telling you whether or not it exists. They're not telling you whether or not it's a spam trap, whether or not it's this, whether or not it's that, which, by the way, if we're at that point where we're discussing the fact that whether or not you or do not understand that something is a spam trap, then most likely we're at the point where your data is already shit.
Yeah.
Or you don't really know how to expand from it. The number one aspect of a lot of the mailers now is they're starting to realize that it's not volume, it's accuracy. And that does not work with the scale and the setup of mail that they've set up over the past 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental framework change. So a lot of
when I used to mail, again, I'm going back a long time that I was mailing, but if I mailed, I mean, I probably had a tenth as many AOL addresses as I did every other kind of.
And it made the majority of your money, didn't it?
Tons and tons of money because, again, the people that had AOL were probably people that had just gone down to Target, bought a new computer, fired it up, set up an AOL email address because they got the CD through the door, stuck it in to get on the internet. Yep. They ended up with an AOL account. And they were like, oh, I can buy things. Again, like they would be excited to see an email in their inbox. Oh, I've never seen one of these before. Click on it. Oh, they're offering me this. Buy it. It was just great. But again, it was, as you say, it was about knowing the demographic, understanding what the demographic of an typical AOL user was. So it was somebody older, somebody with a bit more money, a bit less savvy. So anyone that uses Gmail, you're going, they're clearly more savvy. They know what's what.
There was one company that I went in and I was dealing with their internal mail, but I walked through the media buyers like desks and cubes to get to where they were. And the funniest thing, yet also some of the most accurate I've ever seen in my life, was a little piece of paper one of the buyers had up. And it literally just said overall demographics by source. And it was like Google, more tech savvy, Yahoo, more like this. And literally for Bing, all it said was people that are physically unable to change their start page. And I went, but what are you targeting? And he went, that. And I'm like, but that's not a demographic. And he goes, is it though? You know exactly who I'm talking about. And you literally had a mental picture as soon as I said it. And I went, I can't disagree. Like, but it's accurate. But that's a good way to target based on ancillary information that you didn't even think of.
But it's funny. So when Yahoo used to be like the big sort of search engine of the time, and Google was just the up and coming fledgling startup.
Yes.
There was a company called Overture that ultimately Yahoo bought, and it was really funny. So they had this thing where every single keyword, they had a database where you could see how many searches had been made for a particular search term, and it was always one of those things like we used to play this game in our office where we would always look to see what was better than sex. Right. So it was like we would look at how many searches had been made for sex on Overture and what terms had more searches for sex than that. Right. And one of the ones that kind of almost always came up was the term Google. Right. And 30 million people a month went to Yahoo looking for Google. And you're thinking, honestly, if I was Yahoo, I would have completely I would have gone, sorry, we can't find that. At all. But they did. They showed them the Google and they were gone, and that was that. And I don't think Yahoo's ever really recovered.
No, definitely not. And so here's another example, actually the same lines as that. And I don't know if this is true or not. It makes sense in my head, but like the other aspect of that too is I'd be willing to bet if you sat 100 people down with fresh computers and they installed it. They opened up Windows and then they brought up their browser. The first thing they would type is Google Chrome into Microsoft Edge to search on MSN to download Google Chrome.
Yeah.
And I've watched people do, you know how there are actual companies that like set up a camera and watch people do stuff like eye tracking. The amount of people that do that is insane. The amount of people that go to Google and type in Google is also insane. Like it's a whole new thing. It's a whole new level of realization when you realize that it's not that people don't understand the terms to search. They don't even understand the boxes for searching.
Yeah.
They don't even understand that that's what it is. And that's what we've done on mobile now is we have the little thing at the top and we say, type in a search or a website. But now people are doing that on desktop.
Yeah.
And they're doing it even if the browser doesn't support it, which thankfully most of them do now. But yeah, it's that kind of stuff is people just, you're not recognizing the full picture.
Going back to, again, like showing my age here in longevity in the industry, I used to go and literally I would go in and hang out in internet cafes and casually glance over it, watching what people were doing to see how they interacted with things. And it was amazing how many people would go to google.com, type in a search term, right? And they would just literally go click, 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 click on like, so it used to be, there would be two ads on the top and sort of 7 or 8 down the side, all paid ads, right? And people would just literally go click, click, click. Like they would do the first 2, which would be the paid ads. They would go, and they wouldn't go click the first one, go to that tab, look at that, go, oh, that's not really for me. I'll go back and try and find another one. They would click on all of them, right? So you would see people going, you can imagine these kind of companies in their office going, our time on site is amazing. We've had people on the site for 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, but if they're on another tab or they've gone to get a coffee, right? Or they're talking to the person on the cube next to them, right? Their time on site isn't really relevant, right? So what should be is the engagement. Like how much scrolling did they do? I always said,
what actions? What do they do?
So for me, I've always maintained like one of the first things I try and do is make sure that whenever we do that, we can look at user engagement because those are signals of intent that you can understand now. You can put them into your analytics and you can create audiences based on that, right? So you can say, I want to build an audience of people who have been to my site, been to this page, scrolled down most of it, spent 5 minutes on it, clicked on my social, whatever it might be. You can create audiences on that basis. And then you can say, go and find me more people like that because they have all those sort of signals. But if you're not capturing them, I'm amazed how many people I get into their Google Analytics and I go to audiences and it's got all users. That's it. That's the only audience they have in their entire account. I'm like, holy crap. But again, to me, I love it because it means that in terms of adding value, I can add value like immediately. Like I said, before I've even taken my jacket off or before I've had a cup of coffee, I can automatically, right, be adding immense value and data with which to make decent decisions. And I've always said as a media buyer, it's having access to as much data as you can, right, that can inform your decision making about that. So like to go back to that example with the East Coast, West Coast and salespeople and everything else, that was a logical thing for me to think through, right? But they had 50, again, I ended up going to that office and they had 55 salespeople. I said to them, so how many new clients are you landing a month? And they said about 80, right? And I said, okay, and how many clients are you losing a month? And they said about 80. So I said, so basically you got the overhead of 55 salespeople and the lunches and all that sort of stuff, and you break even in terms of the number of clients that you've got. I said, that's just not a sustainable model. I said, things need to change. And they kind of, oh yeah, but so we did 4 rounds of layoffs and we took the 80 people or the 55 people down to, I think, 5. And even at 5, it was still probably 3 too many for the number of leads coming in. And it was brutal because the whole definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and expecting to get different results.
That's all they do.
The guy who played this sort of song, the jump around one, right? He was in the last tranche of people to let go. And we would lay all the people off. Then we'd all go to the pub on a Friday because we all used to do layoffs on Fridays. And they used to think that we chose the people because we didn't like them. It had nothing to do with whether we liked them, whether they got paid a lot more money than anyone else. We just worked through it in a sort of systematic way. And I'd be at the pub again. I thought I could take the wimpy way and not go to the pub to face everyone. And I thought, no, I'm going to go to the pub. And I used to stand there going, guys, you need to do things differently. You want to make this work, you need to change the way in which things are done in order to do that. Because if you don't change, you're just going to continue to keep getting layoffs. And they kept saying, oh yeah, but that person was a really good guy. Drink.
They don't,
right?
They don't get it.
Doesn't matter. It's not what it's about. It wasn't were they a good guy. It's if you're bleeding red ink on the balance sheet, like that's not a sustainable business. And
it's literally, that is the experience. That's the difference between someone coming in that understands the concepts, but also hasn't had the experience to see the difference.
Yeah.
And and by the way, remember also, you can box in people's perspectives based on what they've done, right? So media buyers are really good, but media buyers might not know like how a call floor works or like how agents take calls. So good example is my buddy works for a law firm over in California. He runs their internal. He just got half of his ad spend cut from the budget from the CEO because they weren't getting enough, going into your example, new business. Or I'm sorry, they were only getting new business they couldn't retain. And that was the main issue.
Yeah.
And they never actually looked into it to figure out that all the salespeople were getting triple commission on new deals instead of reviewing old ones. So they were hiding all of their losses in their CRM under ex-employees' names, but forgot to change the dates. And then they were doing it. Their floor manager was in on it. All of them were doing it. And literally, they are still doing it because my buddy is the one that got blamed for some reason. This is what I mean about it goes all the way up sometimes. And literally, some people are sitting there, this is the easiest thing in the world to see. Yeah. You would have had this anyway. It's just, if you want to call it redemption, right? Like you lost a client, go get them. But like you said, when you're losing 73 and you're gaining 73 and it's every month, come on.
Yeah.
That's not how business happens. But people need to understand a little more about the life cycle.
And to go back to that whole example I gave you about the Google ads and brand bidding and everything else, again, to the point of that. So I've said to all the clients I work with, I said, not only should we be bidding on the brand, we should be segmenting people to who know about the brand, as in they are existing customers, right? And give them a completely different experience, right, than people that don't know the brand, right? So again, most people will maybe start the journey on Facebook, right? They see one of your ads on Facebook and they go, I've never heard of that company before. And they go to Google and they type in the brand name and they click on the ad, right? And they should be seeing the new business, new customer, don't know who you are experience. But if you have something from, you've got them in an audience, you know that they're existing customers, as soon as they become an existing customer where they buy a product from you, fill in a form, whatever, add them to a list, that then becomes an exclusion list, right? And also an inclusion list. So what you can do is you can run an ad specifically to the inclusions of people that are your existing customers. And those are the people that you can say, here's how you can log into the account. If you have an app, here's where you can download the app. If you like the services, again, I've always maintained the best way of getting great reviews from customers. If you have a customer that has bought from you, say, 5 times, every single person that buys from you 5 times, right, is guaranteed, I can 100% say they are going to give you a 5-star review, right? If you ask them to give you a review, you can't ask them to give you a 5-star review, but you know that they will, and they'll be gushy with it because they're gushy in Facebook comments of how great the company is, how great the customer service is, blah, blah, blah. So again, the ads for existing customers should say, leave us a review, because the people that are going to see those ads are only going to be people that are in that inclusion list. So they're only people that are existing customers.
Oh, yeah, no, completely.
And you could probably spend for that whole campaign, probably for the entire month, you might be looking at a couple of $100 in ad spend to just sweep up and hoover up all the kind of opportunity that there is in that particular audience. It's just mind-blowing how many people just don't do that.
Oh, it's nuts. Or they don't relate it to, let's call it, their intake. Like if it's a lead gen brand, right? So good example. Last 2 years I got married. As a part of that, I bought my wedding band from a company called Manly Bands. Manly Bands is a good company. They had some nice stuff, blah, 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 blah. But more importantly, I got the retargeting like normal until I placed the order. Once I placed the order, my ads did not disappear. They changed. And they changed to fulfillment and education ads. And as a result of the fulfillment and education, I almost bought like 3 upsells. Like legitimately, they were just like, so here's what's happening today. You're on day 4 after your order. We're doing this. You're on day 7. We're doing this. And it's not actually with their tracker, but like 90% of people fall under that.
Yeah.
The entire time I'm looking at that, I'm going, at least it's keeping me up to date, all this. But then I was like, it probably only cost, if I clicked on everything, it would have cost them what? Maybe $1. And then I went and I looked at their refunds and they have the 30-day no question, blah, 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 even on custom. And I was like, interesting. I bet you they don't have freaking returns because of how good this is.
Exactly.
And that's marketing is more than just getting it. It's also retaining and getting more.
Yeah. And but again, I'm just blown away by how many people just don't get it, don't realize the huge potential that presents to you in terms of, as you say. And then it's tell a friend, refer a friend, right? Again, you think about people setting up an affiliate program. The best people to become your affiliates are people that are existing customers of yours that have bought from you 5 times. Go and tell your friends about like this product, and here's $25 that you can give to them for their first order, and here's $25 that you can have for yourself, either for the next purchase or we'll just give you a gift card. Done. Yeah. Honestly, it's just so easy. How people make it so difficult to do these sorts of things, but it is really incredibly easy. It's like, so I worked with a startup that was a meal delivery service, right? And they were clearly, obviously, they'd raised a couple of rounds of funding, and they wanted to take their sort of ad spend, or they wanted to grow their customer base. So at the time I was working with them, they were spending $25,000 a month on Google. They needed to hit a certain volume of sort of sales by the time they got it to a particular point in time, because they were going to raise their next round of funding and they needed to be hitting the run rate. So if they weren't hitting the run rate, then they would lose out on the funding for the next round. So it was really imperative that we got to that point. But the problem that you had was that they had previously, when they were working with the agency before we came in, they were working on the basis of everything that they did was dramatically discounting the first order, right, to get the order, right, of, let's say it was like $40 off your first box of whatever. So they would deliver the box, and then that would be the end of the communication with them, and then be on to the next customer. And I said, so what are you actually doing for the people that have bought from you? So what, again, I said, what is your return rate? Like in terms of how many times do people come back? I helped a company that was based in Florida that kind of sold smoothies, which is probably the worst thing to have, right? Because like it's a frozen packet that goes in your freezer, right? So if you, and it's on, they used to do it on an auto ship. So it would kind of like, they send you one every month. And we would get so many people that go, you need to cancel it. My freezer's full of this stuff. And I said, what you need to have is you need to have a bonding sequence. So when you send the box out, you know that they've got the box. That should start the stopwatch on a series of emails that kind of go out. Day 1, they get this email, right? And it might be, hey, you've probably got your smoothie now. Here's how you can do it. If you want to get, again, we said, what you probably want to do is, a lot of people would say, oh, the smoothie it was too grainy and everything. That's probably because they got a really cheap blender, right? So I said, you should have your own blender. So they did. They bought a blender that they branded and everything. So that became the upsell, right? It became something that could really automatically add significant value on the first sale that came through, right? Because if people are serious about doing it, to do smoothies as a part of a healthy lifestyle, then it would be good for that purpose. But what would then happen is, so day 1, it would be here's how you can do the blender. Make sure you but blend it for long enough. Day 3, here's some recipes that you can try. Day 4, by the way, you've still got those smoothies in the freezer. Don't forget about them. It's important that you try and get muscle memory. Just remember, you got to go and do it. Do one every day before you go to work. Put it in like a cup like this, and get a decent straw so you can get a decent suck on it and everything. And then that way, you ensured that they were actually consuming the product that you'd sent them, so that when you sent the next one, they weren't going, cancel the order. I've got too many of them. And that dramatically made a difference. And it was the same with the company that did the sort of meal delivery service, right? So when we started focusing on, yes, we wanted to get new people, but we also wanted to kind of like do this bonding sequence through email primarily with existing people, right? And then once people got to their second, third box or what have you, that's when you would start saying, hey, you've had 3 boxes from it. You're probably really benefiting from it immensely. Are there other people that you can refer us to? Because then that automatically adds an extra line of revenue to your business without you necessarily incurring a dramatic overhead. So I've always said, if I give you a $50 coupon and you a $50 coupon if you buy it, it's cost me nothing if you don't take action. If you don't give it to them and they don't use it, it's cost me zero. Whereas if I'm going to give away a $40 discount on the first one and I'm spending $120 to acquire a new customer because I know if they stay for 3 months I'll make my money, then I'm in the black. I can make money right out the gates at that level if they do take the $50, and you end up with somebody who's a prolific influencer that's got loads of friends and can talk about this on their social media, and before you know it, you've got like hundreds of people that are coming through from their leads.
So from your experience, and I think this will probably be my last question, from your experience, how many people that are giving that discount on the product are actually factoring in the unrealized revenue from that as a cost on advertising?
Probably hardly any. That's all. For me, that's always been the thing. People do this Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and what have you, and I'm like, so you're basically going to treble the amount of money you're spending on ads, right, at a point in time that you're reducing your revenue, right, by 50 to 75%. It's just the math just doesn't add up for me. And fair enough, if it was somebody that becomes a new customer will buy from you 5 more times that year before the next Black Friday, and then they might buy from you again, right?
Yeah.
I've always said with Black Fridays, if somebody has bought from you for the last 4 Black Fridays, you should be able to drop a list of those people and give them something completely different than just a normal Black Friday, Cyber Monday offer. This is just for our super VIPs that have bought 4 times from us. You have, thank you, you've been so loyal. Here's a special promotion, or you can get in before everyone else. Just again, there's so many ways in which you can chop this whole thing up. But again, ultimately, it all comes down to you having access to data. So again, that's where I think, to go back to Affiliate Summit AI, that's where AI, I think, will really help the people that understand the value of data and the capturing of data and the processing of data and the storing of data. Again, for years, I've been storing every single client I work with. I store Google Ads data in BigQuery. I store GA4 data in BigQuery, because at some point in time, I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to spend some time learning. Like I've spent basic SQL. I can just about get my head around it. Yeah. But I've got access to the data, and I know how to do a couple of queries that give me information that I can act upon immediately. So if I'm working, talking to a prospective new client, and I've worked with somebody 5 years ago that used to be a client that's gone out of business or whatever, then I can pull that data down and see all the keywords and all the ad copy and all that. I can find it all, right? Because I've got access to it. And again, I think I've been doing it for so many years. I've got hundreds and hundreds of clients that I've got in the database in BigQuery. I think my bill is something like $12 a month. It's insanely cheap.
Yeah, it's
insanely
cheap. Like, I have all my engagement data from my mail stuff going back probably a little over 20 years. So I've got billions and billions and billions of data points.
Yeah.
But the question is what is still worth it? What is not? Yours, yes. Your ads will, unless they're like around something time-based. Yeah. But my stuff probably wouldn't be as useful now.
But again, you think about it. Like, I can extract that data. I can extract the ad copy, right? The clicks, the impressions, the click-through rate, the conversion rate, the revenue, right? And I can send that to ChatGPT or whatever and say, here's all my historical data from whatever. Can you suggest how I can write ad copy under the new format? Obviously, got different formats now completely than you had back in the day, but you know, the principles will still be the same. Titles, descriptions, calls to action, URLs.
Oh yeah, the frameworks will never change.
No. So Rob, we've been on for like probably an hour and a bit, so I think it's probably time to kind of like tap out and
let's cut it.
Thank everyone for coming on. And I'm going to put this up here again. I'm going to keep putting up every single time we do an episode. I'm going to go, right, you guys better need to subscribe, right? And then that way I won't have to show this kind of thank you for subscribing anymore. So make sure that you do subscribe to the channel. And Rob and I would appreciate it. We love you. And if there's anything we can do, leave comments. Let us know how we can help, because we are just guys that we like helping everyone that's involved in this industry, because we want the industry to do well.
Yep.
So Rob,
everything he said. And also, if you like negative reinforcement instead, we will make this final slide more ridiculous by the episode until you do subscribe.
we can definitely do that.
Just FYI. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm going to leave it. Like, I think that's probably been up there long enough that people, oh God, for God's sake, I'm going to just subscribe just so I don't have to see this anymore.
You know what? No. Give them another 10 seconds. They can wait.
Yeah, the algorithm will be like, if you leave it up for 30 seconds, it's whatever. I don't know.
I see a 10-hour version of this coming soon.
I don't. Have you ever? Again, I'm going to come back to us. But have you ever watched any of the 10-hour videos where they just loop something over and over again?
Watched is a very subjective term in this question. Have I had it on the background and listened to it? Yes. There was definitely Epic Sax Man 10 hours, and that worked for programming for me for the week.
So the one that always gets me. So there's one with Russell Crowe in Gladiator, right? And it's a 10-hour YouTube video where it's when he gets asked to turn around, who is he? Who are you? And he goes, I'm Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Yep.
Whatever. And it just loops that for 10 hours. It is just so great. And I think the person that kind of came up with that idea came up with it originally because, right, one, he wants to increase his view hours. So like having a 10-hour video was good. But what he did was he created one because his neighbor was pissing him off by playing loud music all night. So he would put the sort of the video on first thing in the morning, go to work for the whole day, have it dialed up completely full blast, right? And then come home later on. And you can see the person banging on the wall. And it's the same song over and over and over, but just a small snippet of the song for like
That's the worst part.
Yeah.
At least if it's the regular song, there's some differences. If it's the same 5-second, you're like, here we go again. And it just keeps going.
But some of them are just phenomenal. But yeah, so on that point, I'm going to end the stream. Thank you so much, Rob.
Yep.
Good to see you as always. And we'll see everyone on the next episode of the Media Buying Podcast. I got it right this time.
Oh, that's what it's called. Damn. I got to update my Blackboard. Hold on.
You're such a twat.
All right.
Love you.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Bye for now.
There you go. That was good.